This segment of the Alice Stewart Show is brought to you by the Countertop Store, Central Arkansas's premier countertop authority. For custom fabrication and installation of granite, tile, laminate, copper, and more, the Countertop Store, 888-510-4773.
And we're back on the Alice Stewart Show, 7:16 on a nice Monday morning. And we are around 70 days and counting until the big midterm elections. And this is a critical time, the final push to Election Day, as the candidates and the campaigns really pull out all the stops to campaign, to run ads, to raise money, to do all they can to get their message out. And here was someone who's familiar with all different aspects of how to get their message out. I'm joined with Teresa Oelke. She is the Americans for Prosperity Vice President. She joins us this morning. Teresa, good morning.
Good morning, Alice.
And I appreciate you being here. And Americans for Prosperity folks are very familiar with your stand on fiscal responsibility, limited government. What is your main push that you're focusing on? Because we see the cost of living going up. We see the impact of Obamacare. What is Americans for Prosperity working to stress in this final stretch?
You know, Alice, we talk a lot about policy. We talk a lot, trying to educate legislators on the impacts these policies have when they pass them in Washington, D.C. And right now, I think the most important thing is for us to, frankly, talk to citizens about how these policies are actually affecting their families' budgets, their grocery bills, their fuel bills, and soon to come, significantly, their utility bills, and encourage them to hold legislators accountable for voting for policies that are taking away their opportunities, spending their money, and, just making sure they're part of the process and their voice is heard.
And one of the elected officials that you have been pretty vocal on is Senator Mark Pryor, obviously running in one of the most hotly contested races in the country. We've had folks on national experts and journalists are really keeping an eye on this Arkansas race. AFP has just put out an ad. It's entitled "Arkansas is Paying the Price," and it focuses on Mark Pryor's record. I want to play the ad and get your comments after this. Here's the ad.
Insurance going up, gas going up, food going up. It's a lot harder to make ends meet. I don't know where we could cut back any more than what we've done.
My dollars are not buying what they used to. It's gotten to the point where cutting back would definitely change the way that we live.
It's just the day-to-day struggles of everyday people.
Mark Pryor, your votes have made our lives harder, and we're paying the price.
Teresa, what votes specifically? There's obviously graphics on that ad that you can't see on the radio, but what votes specifically do you highlight?
Well, specifically, if you look at, of course, Senator Pryor's vote and support for Obamacare, this is a bill that has raised insurance premiums for people who have insurance. It has driven down hiring in the state of Arkansas. You've seen a reduction in hours for people. We talked to individuals this weekend who actually had to go out and get a second job because their job was cut back to 28 hours. We knew this was coming. Senator Pryor knew this was coming. These are issues we've talked to him about since 2009. There were fixes passed in Washington, or at least voted on in Washington, that Senator Pryor didn't support. This is just Alice, somebody who's not listening of the policies and how they're impacting the citizens he's supposed to represent. And in fact, he dismissed them as anecdotal.
And clearly this is something that no matter who our elected officials are, it's important to follow up and know what their actual record is and what they say when they are campaigning. The rhetoric matches reality.
That's exactly right. When you see Senator Pryor in the state today, he talks about his concern on EPA regulations and how he got the comment period extended so people could complain to the EPA. Well, this is the same senator who supported the head of the EPA even when fellow Senate Democrats objected to her nomination because of her extreme agenda that she had already shown a track record of. So saying one thing in Little Rock, doing the bare minimum to say that you did something, but then going up to D.C. and following along and voting for President Obama's agenda is not representing the state of Arkansas.
And my guest is Teresa Oelke, the Vice President at Americans for Prosperity, and AFP keeps a close eye on the facts and figures of all this legislation and the research that goes behind it. I encourage you to go to their Facebook page, Americans for Prosperity Arkansas, and they also have a great website. Teresa, another issue that AFP has kept track of is Medicare and the impact Obamacare has had on Medicare.
Alice, this is really about priorities. Right now, we're going door to door this weekend. Senior citizens are feeling the impact Obamacare has had on their Medicare. Obamacare cost Medicare. They passed $714 billion in cuts to Medicare to pay for Obamacare. But they didn't shore up the program. They didn't make it more sustainable. They actually passed an entitlement that we can't afford, which at the end of the day jeopardizes, further jeopardizes programs like Medicare and Social Security.
And I think that's critical to understand the ripple effect of this. You mentioned door-to-door. AFP has teams across the state that are going door-to-door, knocking on doors to get the message out. How is that effort going, and what kind of response are you getting from the voters?
Alice, it was a great weekend. I had the privilege of being with our team there in Little Rock on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Hit over 20,000 doors over the course, as well as Sunday, over the course of this weekend, just reaching out to citizens there. And the response has been really tremendous. People understand and are feeling the impacts of these policies. And let me tell you, I just want to give a hat tip to the team there in Central Arkansas because, that many doors in 104-degree heat was no easy task. And it really shows, they're motivated because they love the country, love our country, and they want to make sure citizens understand Senator Pryor's record of representing them or actually not representing them in Washington, D.C.
Yes, that is a commitment in the kind of weather we had over the weekend to get out there and do that. But and the good thing, really, Teresa, is that we see this on both sides of the aisle. I've actually gotten a lot of door-to-door from those that are on the left side of the aisle that accidentally didn't realize that I lived at that address. But we're seeing all the candidates, and I think that's important is for folks to learn about the issues, both sides, and make an informed, educated decision based on the facts. So I applaud the candidates themselves and the issue volunteers on both sides really getting out there and educating the people, because that's what it's about. We want an informed electorate.
It really is. November's just one day. November 2nd is just one day out of the year. Americans for Prosperity is here to encourage citizens to participate 365 days a year, and we won't go away after Election Day. We're not here to electioneer. We're here to advance freedom and to make sure that, hardworking Arkansas taxpayers have a seat at that table and are part of the conversation in Washington, D.C.,
And that's so important. And like we say, there's between now and November, there will be quite a bit of folks out there door to door, making phone calls, asking for money, and getting together to rally their team. I want to ask you about this, Teresa, the Defending the American Dream Summit. I fortunately will be able to go there this week in Dallas, and AFP is sponsoring this fantastic event. Some big name speakers. What's the message there?
Really, it's just, again, Alice, equipping citizens to participate in the process and be effective, to understand, how these policies impact on their lives, their budgets, their kids, their grandkids, but more importantly, to take those beliefs and translate them to action that's impactful and that can really make a difference. If you look at the state of Arkansas, in 2009, this is a state where our state chapter had 600 members of Americans for Prosperity. Today, we have 74,000 members, and I think you can see an impact on the policy direction. Look, you have two candidates in the state running for governor who both, for the first time, advocated for reducing the income tax, letting citizens keep more of their money in their pocket. So I think it's been a significant change, and they absolutely have had an impact on the process. So the summit is just a great way to refine their skills or learn more about how to participate in the process.
And it helps getting the grassroots folks together, but they will be really energized by the top-notch speakers, Marsha Blackburn, Rand Paul, Ted Cruz, Dr. Ben Carson, Governor Rick Perry, Arthur Brooks, who I just think is fantastic. So great lineup of people, Governor Mike Pence, tremendous lineup. And go ahead.
Absolutely. And I think what I love about that lineup is, it's not a lineup of, although we do have people who may be presidential contenders in 2016, but it really highlights the governors across the country who are getting policies right, who are doing things that lead to better lives and, for their citizens and more opportunities. And those are some of my favorite moments when you hear about how these policies work and benefit people. It motivates you to go back into your state and try and make a difference.
Absolutely. And governors who work across the aisle, balance budgets, live within their budgetary restraints. So it'll be a great event. Appreciate the opportunity to go there with Americans for Prosperity. And we will be broadcasting there live Friday and presenting a lot of the ideas and some of these guests here. So, Teresa, thank you very much. I appreciate your time this morning and all that you do to get the message out. Teresa Oelke, Vice President for Americans for Prosperity. You can find them at Facebook at Americans for Prosperity, Arkansas. Teresa, thank you.
Thanks, Alice. Have a great day.
Same with you. And politics is hot on the agenda all day and Monday through Friday here on 96.5. You can get all the latest news and politics speakers and voices in politics. This afternoon, Dave Ellswick, as you know, the afternoon drive here on 96.5 from 2 to 6. Today at 4 o'clock, Dave will be joined by Asa Hutchinson, Republican candidate for governor, be talking the issues and the campaign as he works the state and talking with folks across Arkansas. So make sure you tune in today from 2 to 6 for Dave Ellswick Show, but specifically at 4 o'clock and listen for Asa Hutchinson. We're going to take a break. When we come back, the Spin Room, experts on both sides of the aisle, Jim Revis and Taylor Riddle, battling it out on the top stories of the day. This segment of the program brought to you by the Countertop Store, 9817 Maumelle Boulevard. Give them a call, 888-510-4773.